and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Frigid Hare, and with me today are my two fellow penguins, Manny Cruz and S.C. MacPeter. Say hi.
Get off me, you palooka.
That's my best impression of a penguin.
That's what they sound like?
No, that's more like a goat than a penguin, though.
A goat penguin, so this is a hybrid animal we're speaking of.
Released on the 7th of October 1949, it's the 569th in the series, and it's directed by Chuck Jones. You can currently find this on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 1 DVD set. I have a link below to that. But a HD version has surfaced on Amazon Video, which is very interesting considering one of the characters in this. We'll get to that in a moment.
It gave me just 2 weeks vacation and I've already lost enough time. So long, kid. I'll send you momentum from Miami.
So with the synopsis, Bugs once again takes the wrong turn at Albuquerque, and instead of Miami Beach, he ends up at the South Pole. He encounters a penguin who is being chased by a Inuit person who, for some reason, is in the southern hemisphere when he should be in the northern, but anyway, we'll get to that as well. And Bugs agrees to help the penguin, who we'll be calling Playboy Penguin, even though he was not officially named here.
Stop breathing so hard.
So, the trivia. Speaking of that Playboy Penguin, this is his first appearance, and he appears in a second short later on called 8-Ball Bunny, which I kind of prefer, but I like this one as well. And as I mentioned, there's no one lives in Antarctica. It's just basically penguins and a few Arctic animals around, and that's basically it. And of course, when we watch these shorts, we don't watch it for their accuracy. But if we're going along that line, I'm sorry to say, people, but rabbits actually do not talk.
What?
So.
And that's just screwy talk.
I know, shocking, isn't it? I hate to burst everyone's bubbles, but we gotta go for accuracy in these things. There is one reference to Mr. Warner that Bugs Bunny says in this one.
Yeah, Mr. Warner gave me just 2 weeks vacation and I've already lost enough time.
Now, that's a reference to Jack Warner, who was running the studio at the time, and apparently, according to a book, he didn't treat the shorts with too much respect, although, as you mentioned to me before the recording, SC, that could just be that Jack just didn't know much about some of the production elements of the studio. But there was a quote that he allegedly said, which was, "I don't even know where the hell this cartoon studio is. The only thing I know is that we make Mickey Mouse." Now, whether that's 100% true or not, I can't say, but he allegedly had said that. So, boys, let's start off with the fact that, Manny, you were, of course, aware of the June Bugs marathon. Was this cartoon played in June Bugs?
Let us go back to the year 2001, in particular, the summer of 2001. The world was still recovering from the non-issue that was the Y2K bug. I was getting my first pimples and braces and glasses. And most importantly, there was controversy on the rise with America's most famous Wabbit. But anywho, so for those of you that are not familiar, back in the late 90s and the 2000s, they would have the June Bugs Marathon. So they would show a whole day or several days, if I remember, of Bugs Bunny cartoons. This whole controversy does play like a special place in my heart because 2001 was the year that I first really got into this hobby of learning about the history of the Warner Brothers studio. I was in middle school at the time, and this is when I was like buying all the books and really getting into it, and I was caught smack dab in like all this stuff going on. So that year, Cartoon Network decided that they were going to air all the theatrical Bugs Bunny shorts. I don't remember if it was going to be in chronological order or if they were going to mix it up. But their intention was to show all 170-ish, 180-ish Bugs Bunny shorts. They decided that they were going to show 12 of them that were considered too controversial to be shown during the day. And one of them happened to be the one we're talking about, Frigid Hare. And the objection was raised because of the depictions of the Inuit character that's in the cartoon. What they were going to do was show Frigid Hare, other ones like All This and Rabbit Stew, Horsehair, Bugs Bunny Nips and Nips. They were going to show them at night, and they were going to run a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen. Pretty much, we're showing this for the sake of completionness, and us showing this is not representative of our views, blah, blah, blah. The whole...
the stuff that they put on the DVDs.
More or less, yes. And I'm actually looking at a list of all 12 of them right now. But yeah, Frigid Hare was included on the list. And then I don't remember exactly whether it was a call from one of the higher ups in Cartoon Network or somebody at Time Warner, which was the owner of the conglomerate that owned Cartoon Network at the time, and Warner Brothers. And they decided to pull it off from the marathon. And it was a big deal. They had an article about it in the New York Times. They were talking about it in the news. I was a big fan of the Opie and Anthony radio show. They even talked about it. They were making fun of the whole controversy. But I was like, wow, this is actually like having a big deal about it. But what's strange was years later on Cartoon Network, they started airing Frigid Hare. Now, obviously, stuff like All This in Rabbit Stew and Bugs Bunny Nips and Nips, those weren't being shown. But this short and I believe Mississippi Hare and Hiawatha's Rabbit Hunt, they weren't played all the time, but those managed to squeak by after that whole controversy went out. But Frigid Hare did have a few edits to it. If I'm not mistaken, and I know some nerd will yell at me in the comments, that the line at the end of Bugs Bunny saying, 1953, that was cut because, it dates a cartoon. But in particular, when Bugs Bunny and the Inuit are on like that little icicle and it's about to break, and Bugs yells, "Get off of me, you big baboon," that line was cut when it was aired on Cartoon Network. But it's weird how they made a big deal about this particular short, and it was one of the banned cartoons, lost media, and all that nonsense. But yet it eventually made its way on, Cartoon Network and on the Golden Collection. And as Anthony said, the HD version, which is on Amazon, which I didn't even know there was a HD version. So
Yep.
that's my storybook from back in the day. So enjoy, boys and girls.
Indeed. I mean, let's start off in terms of the look of the cartoon, because SC, you were saying to me about how this cartoon looks, and I think it looks amazing.
Yeah, I really love the colors in this. Like, the whole, Bugs' gray contrasts really well with the blue and purple in the backgrounds. And still, the penguin has a clear silhouette behind all this as well. It's just a beautiful looking short.
Especially the ending with the Southern Lights, and that would be something. And no, Manny, no Simpsons reference here. We all know what you're going to be saying in relation to the lights. Well,
actually, what I was going to say, first off, that ending, I love the ending of this cartoon. Like SC said, very colorful, very beautiful. I love the musical cue that Carl Schilling wrote at the end. And the image of, Bugs and Playboy walking at the end. It's a very charming, cute scene. But I was going to say Southern Lights. I was like, well, it's not a Simpsons reference. I'm actually thinking of The Legend of Korra. That's actually one of the Southern Lights. I think that's season 2, episode 2 of Legend of Korra. So this is my daily reminder for Anthony to watch Avatar and Legend of Korra. Anyway, let's move on.
Of course. So let's go through the cartoon itself. So I enjoyed the start of this, with Bugs thinking he's at Miami Beach, where this bit could have gone on maybe a bit too long, but in this case, it's just right. It was just enough that Bugs was so excited that he completely ignores his surroundings, thinking he's at Miami Beach. I mean, I don't know how exciting Miami Beach actually is, because I haven't been there, but, I like the timing of that particular scene. And of course, when the water freezes when he goes in it. But one gag I just don't get, and I think the two of you weren't sure about either, was when Bugs says,
"Hey, wait a minute. This don't look like Miami Beach to me. This looks more like California."
And I'm thinking, what is that supposed to mean? Is that supposed to be for some sort of reference to a movie or I don't know. It's a weird one. But you said, SC, that might be just sarcasm.
That's what I'm thinking. It would have been a much more funnier joke if he had said, Brooklyn or Manhattan.
And speaking of which, one of the next shots is him actually wearing a top that says Coney Island Baths. So, maybe the joke would have made more sense if you, as you said, reference to the weather in that particular area. But if anyone knows more about that joke, please let me know in the comments below, because there has to be something more to it. Maybe a radio gag or something that I'm not aware of. But I love the look of the penguin. I love how Bugs just puts a nice little bow tie and a top hat, because Chuck, when he started his directing career, did the whole cutesy sort of, Sniffles cartoons and that sort of thing. And here, his cartoons are a little bit more edgier and more more well loved, but he still goes back and does the cutesy thing, and here's a perfect example of it. But here it works because it blends so well into the story. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it works really well. I actually prefer this one over 8 Ball Bunny because I just like the character conflict a little bit more. and also because of just that rich color palette I mentioned.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Frigid Hare in a very long time. I mean, 8 Ball Bunny I've seen a million times, but I think it's probably because 8 Ball Bunny's been played more. But I think Playboy Penguin looks cuter in this cartoon. I think in some ways he's more sympathetic. And it's cool, the whole, like you mentioned before, the whole scene where he dresses him up with the tuxedo and everything. It's really charming. And I would say also too, just like there are aspects of this cartoon that, again, because I haven't seen it in a long time, that really caught me off guard with how funny they are in particular. And speaking of looks, of course, I'm referring to the scene with one of the best versions of "You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby" that Carl Stalling has ever arranged for these cartoons. And just the music and the timing of the jokes. And my God, every time Bugs smacks the Inuit in the face with the fish cracks me up. I forgot how funny that scene is.
It's great.
Yeah,
and just a little touch of Bugs wiping his mouth after the Inuit kisses his mouth. He's just like, that made me crack up. I was like, holy cow, I forgot how funny this scene is.
It's so good. Although you do have to wonder, why is this Inuit character chasing after this small little penguin when he can get a giant fish so easily? But anyway, we'll let that. It just makes the gag so much funnier. But can we all agree that Bugs has perfected that wiggly walk pretty good?
Those curves don't lie.
Yeah. This is a great one, just full of great character and animation, funny too. Just love the whole ice piece where they're about to fall off is just really well done as well.
Exactly.
Yes. Exactly. I like the little touch every time the piece of ice would continue to break. You hear like the little flourish on the vibraphone every time, and I'll be like, oh, it's so good.
Stop breathing so hard.
The song that Bugs sings about Miami Beach.
I'm not my penguin's keeper, 'cause I'm yearning to be joining up the surf on old Miami Beach.
And I thought, is this from a movie or is it from some classic song that I haven't even heard from before? But you actually have an answer for that, which I thought was very interesting.
Yes, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, this is probably some song that, Stalling took from the Warner's library and anything. But no, apparently this is an original Carl Stalling cue. Like, I'm thinking of this. I'm thinking of the other melody that you hear in the Wild Hare. Ba, 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 da, ba, da, da, ba, da. Or, and of course, Bugs' theme song, What's Up, Doc? And I'm like, those are 3 songs in particular that are Carl Stalling originals that I'm like, wow. I mean, I love the fact that he constantly quotes, classical music and jazz and popular music of that period. But there are times I'm like, I wish he did more of his own original compositions. Obviously he wrote the scores for the cartoons themselves, are original compositions, little songs in between. And speaking of the old Miami Beach, the scene when Bugs sings, I'm going down Miami Beach, and he's hopping and he's doing that weird little dance when he goes into the hole after the Inuit captures the penguin. And what I love there is the complete absence of sound. So Bugs sings Miami Beach, he goes into his hole and is completely silent. And then that stinger when Bugs pops his head out of the hole, realizing, oh, I should help this little guy out. And it's just like those moments where they play around with, silence and the music itself. Just, so good.
Exactly. And a competent composer of a film score should know when there should be music and also where there shouldn't be music. And I think this
less
is
is more.
Example. Exactly. I totally agree.
I do want to mention some historical context in this cartoon. There is one line that I also read that was cut in certain broadcasts.
What a dope! What an Eskimo pie head!
I'm just going to say a certain term that's inappropriate now, but just for the sake of historical accuracy, when Bugs insults the Inuit, he calls him an Eskimo pie head. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, that was a dessert type of ice cream that used to be called an Eskimo pie. And it was around for about 100 years. And I've heard of them, but I've never actually eaten one before. And I've eaten plenty of ice cream in my day. But it was last year, I believe in 2021, that they finally decided to change the name of the product. So it now goes by Eddie's Pie. So EDY' Pie. And they renamed it in honor of the co-founder of the company that currently owns the property, Joseph Eddy. He was a co-founder of the company. But yeah, that joke, I mean, besides the fact they're using an offensive term for the Inuit, it's just another thing that, you know, if you don't know what an Eddie's Pie is and you're going to be like, what? You wouldn't understand the joke. And that's definitely one of the big reasons why the cartoon, as I said before, was pulled from the June Bugs Marathon. But despite the stereotyping of the character and, you know, the one or two barbs that Bugs throws in, this is still a really funny cartoon. Minus, like I said, the stereotyping. And he's not even in the cartoon that much, the Inuit character. Bugs is just on fire in this cartoon. Playboy Penguin's so charming. And the slapstick in this cartoon is actually, you know, if you could excuse the fact that there's a stereotype in it, it's really, really funny. And it definitely caught me off guard because it's been a long time since I've seen this one.
You know, for me, I'm giving this one an 8.5 out of 10. I do have to knock off a few points because of, you know, the fact it is a little hard to watch these days. But for what it is, though, it's funny and it has a nice touching story in it as well. And yeah, I can't think much fault to it. So yeah, what are you guys going to score this one?
I'd also give it 8. It's like I said, it's a good short for smiles.
What about you, Manny?
I am going to go with... I'll just go 8 out of 10. Yeah. I was thinking about this one because I'm like, is it... I mean, because I'm also comparing it to 8-Ball Bunny. I mean, it's... there's definitely some solid laughs. I can't think of anything else. I was pleasantly surprised with some of the gags. And yeah, like I said, you know, minus the stereotyping, it's definitely really, really funny. And again, charming as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll wrap it up here. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
That's all, folks.
That's me making the sound of a penguin clapping their fins together, so goodbye.
6 months long up here? Wow! If I stay up here, I won't have to be back to work till July 1953. I always wanted a nice, long, formal vacation. Let's go, kid.